Adaaaaa. You're watching the number one podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, and I'm your host, Jean-Paul Leek, and this is Rope Break. Family, Tuesday morning, you already know what time it is. It's time for the worst show in the wrestling world, Monday Night Raw. So, this show has just been getting worse and worse and worse, and there's nothing else to say. Well, I don't know if the rumors are true and they're really trying to sell this company. This 3-hour abomination of a show is not really the thing you want to be presenting to potential buyers. But, before we get into this whole train wreck of a show, just want to thank each and every one of you guys for all the support you always give the channel. It means the world to us. Go check out all the great content from last week. Juan was killing it over the weekend. NWA, Broken Skull Sessions, the man does it all. Go check out those great videos. And of course, start your wrestling week off on the right foot by watching Rope Break's review of Monday Night Raw, and not, like I said, the 3-hour abomination that is Monday Night Raw. So let's get into it. This show opened up. We heard the entrance music from Randy Orton, the Arcade Bros, and you're like, what the hell's going on? But then you see all the tag teams are in the ring. They're going to have a battle royal to determine the new number one contender. So before this thing starts, AJ and Omos come out. They pretty much run down every team saying how, oh, okay, yeah, New Day, we had a great match at WrestleMania. Maybe we'll have a great match again. The Arcade Bros, you guys are a bunch of goofs. Lindsay, you only want to be like me because you do all the video game moves that only I can do. So, AJ's just running down all these guys and everything. Then eventually he's like, did I leave anyone out? Then the Miz and Morrison come, and Miz is still in a wheelchair because, I hurt myself at WrestleMania Backlash, but Morrison's going to win this thing by himself. Lindsay was also in there by himself because Grand Metalik was hurt. So you had two teams that were only in there by themselves. But eventually, this thing gets started, and then it goes to commercial break. And then when it comes back, we see, oh yeah, Drew and Lashley and all this stuff's happening later tonight. And it's like, and then it goes back to the match. So it was weird. You couldn't do that to start the show and then just have this whole segment just kind of flow nice. But, it was what it was. But this match actually wasn't too bad. I believe like Lindsay and Morrison were eliminated first. Then you had Mace and T-Bar. They looked really strong and dominant in this. I was actually hoping they were going to win, but then it took, 3 men to eliminate each of them. So then they were all gone. So then it was just the New Day, RK Bros, and the Viking Raiders. And then eventually this came down to I believe the New Day was eliminated, or the Viking, but yeah, I think the RK Bros were, because Riddle was eliminated, then Randy Orton, and eventually the Viking Raiders. They won this thing. Yeah, they threw out, Orton throws out Kofi, but Eric and Ivar toss him out. So there you go. So then the Viking Raiders win this. The right team to win it. They're one of the most legit teams, really the only legit team. Obviously, Mason T-Bar look the part, but we haven't really seen them much on TV. So I'm fine with the Viking Raiders winning it. And, I think they'll have a good match with AJ and Omos. So then after that, like I said, they are the challengers. Styles says he's happy with the results because he wants to entertain the fans. Then we see Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. They're interrupted by Charlotte backstage. She asked for her loss to Nikki Cross to be stricken from the record because she was goaded into the match. They refuse and say that she's just jealous, but she asked for a rematch. Rhea appears and says, unlike Charlotte, she respects Nikki. Deville suggests they team up to face Nikki and a partner of her choosing, and they reluctantly agree. So, that match is coming later tonight. So then when we come back from commercial break, Eric and Ivar, they're backstage celebrating. They're getting excited. Ivar said he's hungry, and the turkey legs are on him. Styles and Omos appear. Omos has a turkey leg, and AJ says that they're just wannabe Vikings. They use electricity, mirrors. Eric says that he honors the Vikings who came before him, and if AJ has a problem, he can show him. AJ laughs and walks off. So, that was what it was. No real thoughts on that. Then we see Elias in the ring, and he talks about Jackson Riker. Elias blames him for not being tag team champions, and we see footage of their fallout from last week. Elias says that when he first met Riker, he didn't see unbridled potential and a tree trunk arms. He saw the darkness in his eyes, a man who has been to war, but he's not a man who would go to war for him. Riker attacks Elias from behind. He has he's like really short haircut. So we see the rumors he was supposed to be released. Now I guess he isn't, or maybe they released him and then signed him back, or maybe he was never released to begin with. Who the hell knows? But Jackson Riker's back. He starts beating up Elias, and this leads to the match Elias versus Jackson Riker. And this match wasn't very long. Jackson Riker looked really dominant. I mean, the dude is just jacked as all hell, but he looked real dominant in this. And at the end of this thing, Riker slaps himself to wake up, but Elias punches him again. Riker fights back, gets caught with an inverted atomic drop. Elias lifts Riker, but he grabs Elias's beard, slams him with a one-handed spine buster, and then Elias rolls from the ring. Referee stops Riker from going after him, and Elias leaves up the ramp and gets counted out. So Jackson Riker wins, and we see this little mid-card feud is going to continue. So, I mean, Jackson Riker, like I said, if you really do something with him, maybe you can get something out of him because he definitely has the look. So, he needs to go over Elias and then maybe challenge, Sheamus or somebody like that, because that whole United States Championship feud is just a mess. But don't worry, we'll get to that later on. So then we see highlights of Kofi Kingston and Drew McIntyre from last week. Drew makes his way to the ring to sign the contract for his match against Lashley. So Drew is sitting at the desk, and Sonya Deville's there with Adam Pearce. They introduce Lashley, but he doesn't come out. McIntyre is frustrated, and he predicts how the segment will go anyway. He tells a story about a Scottish king who pretty much just, he won Scotland, it's freedom, everything. McIntyre, he makes to sign the contract, but MVP and Lashley and, their entourage of women, they appear on the big screen and they tell him to wait just one moment. So the WWE champion and MVP come to the ring. MVP congratulates Drew on manipulating his way into another title shot. MVP says they upheld their end of the bargain. Lashley says he wants a guarantee that Drew will never challenge him again for the title if he loses. McIntyre accepts a stipulation, but he wants a match where he can be no interference. He wants Lashley inside hell in a cell. MVP says Lashley accepts the terms, and Pearce gets them to sign the contract. So then Lashley Max Drew, and he tells him that he can try again, but he's not going to win. Drew says Hell in a Cell is a match that changes you. It's something Lashley has never experienced. He'll go through all that again just to rip Lashley's skin with the cage, break his bones, and take back his title. Drew tells him to enjoy the next few weeks, and he'll see Lashley in hell. Lashley says he'll beat him there as well. Lashley gets up and mingles with the ladies, but McIntyre grabs his swords. He chops the table in half, and he stares at Lashley to end the segment. So this was actually a pretty good contract signing, all things considered. A little bit long-winded in the beginning with the story about the king and whatever, but this should have been the main event. This is how you should have closed the show. It's the main event for, the title picture. Everything is two top guys on Raw. Why is it the third segment on Raw? I don't understand that. Should have been the main event, especially considering what we saw in the main event. But, that just proves how messed up and stupidly booked this show is. So then we see Nikki Cross. She's interviewed backstage, and she says she had this in her all along. It doesn't matter that she's not the biggest, the prettiest. She's got tenacity and spirit. She'd regret not taking the chances, so she has to try. And she's chosen a tag team partner, and her partner is Asuka, and nobody is ready for them. That was pretty predictable that it was going to be Asuka. At least in my eyes, it's like, okay, who has history? Who's someone who's really legit that can hang with a Rhea and a Charlotte in the ring? Asuka. So it made sense. Then we see Sheamus. He comes out. He has the face mask on, everything from when he got that big shot from Humberto in the nose, broke his nose or whatever. So he has like that clear hockey mask, face mask thing on. And he comes to the ring, and he'll be watching the next match from ringside. And this is a number one contender for the U.S. Championship, Humberto Carrillo versus Ricochet. And this was actually pretty good. It was, again, short because of how the ending was. And like I said, it's just, you couldn't just give me a clear winner. Couldn't just book a match, book a legit feud. It has to just keep going on like a bullshit way. But the match itself was really good. At the end of this thing, Ricochet lifts Humberto, but he gets free. On the apron, he drags Ricochet out with him. They trade chops, punches, and kicks. Ricochet runs, but Carrillo catches him with a Spanish fly from the apron to the floor. The referee gets inside, starts counting, but neither of them can get back inside before the 10 count. I think Ricochet got in like the 11 count, you could say. He got in right after 10. So count out, draw. So then you see Sheamus, he's loving it. He laughs. He calls them bleeding Muppets, and he who should be wearing a mask to hide their embarrassment. So we don't really know who's going to challenge Sheamus at the pay-per-view, if this match is even going to take place at the pay-per-view. So again, like I said, pretty decent match, bullshit way to end it, but that's Raw for you folks. So in the New Day, they're backstage, but MVP stops them. He asks Kofi for a word. MVP says he was impressed with him last week and tonight also. MVP says he represents the Almighty, but he's a Kofi fan. He cried watching him win the WWE Championship, and watching Kofi made him want to come back to WWE. MVP says Kofi Mania was great, but it ended, and he's never rebounded. MVP said last week he caught a glimpse of that man last week, but afterwards he shook Drew's hand, and it made it look like he was content with losing. MVP says it's show business, and there's no room for friends. Kofi says his family and his friends are the most important thing to him. There's little kids watching, and he wrestles to be a role model to them. Why does Lashley do it? For the money. MVP says no. Lashley fights for the WWE Championship and his legacy. So MVP walks off, and Kofi looks conflicted. Really good segment there. You know, everything MVP said was true. Everything Kofi said was true. This was good. Can we present Kofi in this kind of manner instead of, you know, the bullshit that we see during their matches? And also, to me, Xavier Woods is the worst of the two. Kofi just by himself, I think, isn't that bad, but Xavier's just insufferable to me. So then when we come back from commercial break, we see another video package of the return of Eva Marie, and she will make her second debut next week on Raw. Is anyone excited? Crickets chirping? Okay, moving on. So later tonight, Kofi will face Riddle in a one-on-one. Mansoor is backstage warming up, but Mustafa Ali appears in a suit and tells him he isn't ready. Mansoor gets annoyed, but Ali explains that Mansoor isn't ready for the inevitable moment when his opponent cheats. Ali says he can't expect everyone to play by the rules. So Jeff Hardy comes to the ring, and he'll be in singles action after the break, and we get a split-screen interview in which Jeff says he's going to teach Cedric Alexander a lesson in humility. So when I saw this match, Jeff Hardy versus Cedric Alexander, I'm thinking Cedric's going to go over because he's the young guy. You're kind of pushing him, and Jeff Hardy, the rumors are saying he's one. If they do another batch of releases, he's going to be in it. He's going to be out the door. So who knows? And so I'm thinking, okay, he's going to lose, you know, nothing crazy here. But, you know, Jeff Hardy, he started out really good, in control of this thing. Then eventually Cedric took control. I believe he went after the eyes again and everything. But then, you know, Hardy started to make his big comeback. He hits the atomic drop, Russian leg sweep, and then a leg drop for a near fall. He attempts to twist a fate, but Cedric counters and kicks his knee and then lands a brainbuster for a near fall. Cedric climbs to the middle rope, and Jeff does a finger taunt and then jumps, and he gets countered with a twist of fate. Hardy goes up top, and he hits a Swanton bomb for the win. I was actually thinking he was going to kick out of the Swanton. Like I said, I was thinking, no way Jeff Hardy's winning this. Because, like, you know, we saw him get his ass beat against Jinder Mahal. Where's Jinder Mahal been? Exactly. So, you know, you think, okay, Jeff Hardy's not going to win, but he wins. Great win for Jeff Hardy. Hopefully you do something with him. Make him U.S. champ again. You know, whatever. Jeff Hardy needs to be pushed. He's too good to just sit on the sidelines. And then we see Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. They're backstage, and Flair tells the champion to follow her lead. Rhea isn't interested, and she says her championship means more than Charlotte's experience, so she can follow her lead. So then we see Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair versus Nikki Cross and Asuka. And this match was pretty good. It's the same bunch of women we always seen. You see Nikki Cross thrown in here. I don't know if this is going to be a new tag team in the women's division, Asuka and Nikki Cross, or if this is just a few weeks or a one-off thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they make them a makeshift team because they don't know how to, you know, book a women's division besides the main event title picture. They don't know how to book, you know, in between undercard feuds or anything like that. But at the end of this thing, Asuka, she tags in and attacks Rhea before knocking Flair off the apron and hitting Ripley with a face buster. Ripley reverses a kick and hits a Northern Light suplex for a near fall. Cross makes a tag, hits a crossbody, but Rhea kicks out. Flair throws Cross out of the ring and tells Rhea to tag her in. The champion doesn't want to, so she and Flair get into a brawl. Ripley goes for the riptide, but Flair rakes the eyes and hits a natural selection, and then Cross covers her for the win. So we see obviously the dissension. We knew that's what's going to happen. You can't put two, you know, champion and challenger together 2 weeks before the show in a tag match and not expect some kind of bullshit like that. So we'll see what they do here with the winners getting the win here, but obviously this just adds more fuel to the main event for the women's division on the Raw side. So we see Alexa in the playground, and she says Shayna Baszler broke into the playground last week, and she even called Lilly a stupid doll. She's wrong, and they'll have a real scream when Baszler comes to visit them later. So then we see Mansoor versus Drew Gulak, and this match was, of course, very short, trying to get Mansoor over. That's the right move. Drew Gulak, he's a hell of a wrestler, but unfortunately, he's been, you know, his role is that of a jobber here on Monday Night Raw. So at the end of this thing, Gulak fights out of, and then he slams Mansoor into the ropes. He then goes to work the leg, but Mansoor breaks free, mounts some offense for a 2 count. Gulak rolls him up for 2. Gulak rolls him up again with the tights, but Mansoor counters it and scores a win. So a bunch of pinfall roll-up attempts at the end. Mansoor gets the better of him. And that's one of the things Ali even said in his promo too. Oh, Gulak's a better wrestler. He's more technical. There's a style clash between you and him, everything. But Mansoor proved that he was the better man tonight, and he gets the win. So then we see Riddle backstage. He's talking. He's not talking since Orton, took the key from his mouth, and Orton appears and hands him back the key. Obviously just, the fake little childish bullshit that they do. Riddle asks if Randy will be in his corner for the main event. Not really main event, but, he said if he'll be in his corner. And Riddle goes on a rant about how they could get some food, maybe become travel buddies again once, they go on the road, when, shows open up and everything. Orton, he's like, you know what, zip it. I don't want to hear it again. And then he throws the key in the trash and walks off. All right, and then we come back from that. We see Riddle versus Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. And this, this was pretty good, pretty even in the beginning. Of course, Xavier Woods is out there. He starts playing the trombone or whatever. He starts playing that. And then eventually, Riddle kind of gets distracted. And then, Kofi starts taking some offense, and Xavier Woods, that's the whole shtick. People keep getting distracted by Xavier Woods. So Randy Orton had enough of this shit. He comes out, he pretty much does like a big back body dropper, almost here. He just like drops Xavier Woods on the announce desk. And then you see, him and Riddle are there. Kofi does a big leap off the top, takes them out and everything. Then when we go to commercial break and come back, then kind of like they're all in the ring. Everything's going on here. But the main story of this is eventually, Riddle, he hits the draping DDT. Orton applauds him and tells him to finish it. Riddle says not yet. And he drops down and he does the RKO, pump up, hitting the ground like Randy does. And he waits too long. Kofi avoids the RKO and he connects with the Trouble in Paradise for the win. So after the match, Randy's pissed and he leaves Riddle lying on the floor by the announce desk. So again, no pun intended, but are we seeing some trouble in paradise for the RK Bros? Hopefully not. This team just formed. I think you had a good dynamic with them. Just have this be a feud with the New Day that they go over, even though didn't we already see it? So I don't know what this is. Is this, a push for Kofi again? Because of this whole MVP storyline. None of it makes sense. Just don't split up the RK Bros. That's all I'm asking for. So then after that, we see Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax are backstage, and Jax says she knows things haven't been smooth between them, and Baszler laughs. She says Original has been coming between them and the tag team titles. Nia says that he's at home recovering after what Shayna did to him last week, and she tries to warn Shayna about Bliss. But Baszler says she isn't scared of a little girl and a stupid doll. So then Alexa Bliss is in the ring for a special edition of Alexa's Playground. And folks, this is the main event. Not the contract signing, not a legit match, nothing like that. It's this. Alexa Bliss's Playground with Shayna Baszler. So then, like I said, she's in the ring. She talks about making friends and how they might make a new one tonight. Shayna comes to the ring and knocks over Alexa's rocking horse. Bliss says that Shayna hasn't learned her lesson, but that's okay because her and Lilly want her to be their friend. All she has to say is sorry. Shayna says that she's even more delusional than she looks, and she says Bliss is the reason why her and Nia are no longer tag team champions. Alexa Bliss laughs, and she says that that's ridiculous. Bliss gets serious and listens to Lilly for a second, and then says that it's Shayna's best interest to apologize. Baszler takes the doll and says that she's sorry. Sorry that she's just a stupid doll. Baszler throws Lilly, and Alexa jumps up and punches her. Baszler throws her out of the ring and then stomps Lilly's face. The lights start fading in and out, and Baszler leaves the ring, heading up the ramp. As Bliss gets back inside with the doll, flames erupt from all around the ring, and Baszler runs backstage. There's no one backstage. Things start falling around Baszler. All these lights start going off, everything. She tries to escape. The doors are locked. She's pretty much running, panicking backstage. She gets in a room, barricades the door. The lights go out. Baszler turns around. She sees Lilly staring at her in a mirror. She looks around, but Lilly isn't there. Then she's still in the reflection. Baszler smashes the mirror, but Lilly is still in the reflection, and Baszler screams as the show goes off the air. That was the main event. Probably the worst main event in Raw history. Does anybody care about Alexa Bliss and Lilly, doing all this stuff? No. We said with the Fiend, it was good. Without the Fiend, it's just stupid. This is the main event. This is also stupid. Like I said, the worst main event in Raw history. This show is getting more, it's just badly booked. It's getting harder to watch, and it's almost not enjoyable besides maybe one or two segments. And even on tonight's show, really wasn't even a good segment at all. I mean, besides Jeff Hardy winning, I really didn't care about anything on this show. But, guys, that was Monday Night Raw review. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did you like it? Did you agree with 99% of us and you hated it? Let us know. Thumbs up the video if you did. And also, make sure you follow us on all the social media. Rope Break on Facebook, the OG Rope Break on Twitter, Original Rope Break on Instagram, and of course right here on YouTube, the home of the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community. So guys, we will see you tonight with NXT.